Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County. Welcome to Commissioner in the Car. I'm on a special Monday episode of Commissioner in the Car. Why? Well, because we actually have an election tomorrow. Actually, two elections are going on at the same time tomorrow. The Liverpool Village election is one of our only two villages that have June elections. And we're going to talk about that today. The other village is North Syracuse, and they don't have an election until next year. But Liverpool has an election this year and every year in June. However, there might be a chance to change that, and we'll talk about that. But we also have early voting going on for the June primary, which happens June 25th. But no early voting for the Liverpool Village election. So let's get into that. As you may remember from our talks about Baldwinsville and Fayetteville earlier this year, villages in Onondaga County and throughout New York have an ability to choose when their elections are from three different dates. March, which is where most villages used to be, June, where a few villages are, and November. And this is a choice done by the village voters. It's set up one way when they first start, and then the village voters choose to move those elections in subsequent years if they want to. They can move it from March to June. They can move it from June to November, March to November, November back to March or June. It's a vote done by the village voters. And how the decision of how to make this vote or when to make this vote can come two ways. They can come by petition. So, and we saw that earlier this year with the village of Baldwinsville and Fayetteville. They had citizens who got together and did a petition to force this question to be on the next village election ballot. Or it can be done by a vote of the village board, which is what happened in Liverpool. As you may remember, last year, 3 Democrats ran for the village board, 1 for mayor, 2 for trustee, and they swept. They all won their elections, and Democrats took over the village board for the first time in, I don't think ever in Onondaga County history. I think the last time a Democrat was even elected on the board, one singular Democrat, was 20 years ago. Now, Liverpool is a little weird because it is a partisan village, which means they run on party lines. Some villages don't run on party lines. Some do. Some only the one party runs on party lines and the other party doesn't. It really is it's a choice of the candidates ultimately whether they want to run on party lines. But tradition is something that is pretty strong inside of a village. So the village of Liverpool, ran on party lines, and the 3 Democrats, when they were going door to door to campaign, there was what they say was a call from the citizens to say, why are we holding an election in June? Why don't we hold it when we hold regular elections in November? And so, as one of their promises when they got elected was they wanted to put this election forward, so and put a proposition on the next general election, so the citizens can choose whether they want to move their election from June to November, and that's what happened here. Proposition 1 is on the ballot. There are other 2 trustee races as well, but those are unopposed. They happen to be the Republican village trustees. And they're unopposed this election, so you have no real opposition there. But the biggest question is this Proposition 1, which is moving the election from June to November. But before I go into benefits and all of that about that, let's get into how you can participate in the Village of Liverpool election. Well, you could have done a request for an absentee or vote by mail ballot. The Board of Elections runs this village election, so you could have requested that from us. There was no need. If you didn't do that, it's too late now. Although I think, technically you could come in tomorrow to the Board of Elections and request a ballot before noon and be given a ballot if you're unable to get back to your polling place before 9 p.m. However, the polling place is open from noon to 9. It's at Liverpool Village Hall. And you may ask, well, why is it not 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. like a normal election day? Well, that gets into why we may want to think about moving the election. Or when I say we, I mean the Village of Liverpool. I'm not a Village of Liverpool resident, so it's up to them. But that is the traditional hours for the village election. There was no in-person early voting, and in fact, the early voting that is going to be running simultaneously on election day, you cannot go there and vote. So if you want to vote in the congressional election and the village election on the same day, you have to go to two different polling places. So that's happening as well. But there was no in-person early voting. So the only way to vote is in person on election day, noon to 9 p.m. at this point. Again, Village Hall is where the polling place is. If you are a resident of the Village of Liverpool, didn't matter what party you are, you can go out and vote in this election because technically it's a general election. So some of the benefits, I'm not gonna pretend that I don't have an opinion on this. I've been a strong advocate for moving village elections to November for the simple reason of turnout. Turnout in November elections, even in odd years, November elections are much higher than village turnout. Village turnout is usually somewhere between 5 and 15%, whereas odd year turnout is, in November is around 40%, and even year turnout is anywhere from 50 to 75%. So more people are going to go vote in November. They should have the ability to vote on their village elections, and I'm always an advocate for more people voting. So it comes down to that. But there are other benefits. Right now, the Village of Liverpool is probably going to pay somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 to hold their election in June because they are responsible for the cost of the Board of Elections running that election. However, if it moves to November, because it'll be simultaneous with the November election, the Board of Elections picks up that cost wholly. So the Village of Liverpool will not have to pay for it. Although that, when we're talking about a budget, that's a small part of the budget, but every little bit counts. Also, if the election is in November, the Village of Liverpool residents would be allowed to do early voting at one of our early voting sites and be able to vote early in person. They would have a 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. polling time, so you'd be able to drive before election day or before you're going to work and vote. Voting would still happen at Liverpool Village Hall. That's where all of the Village of Liverpool votes already in November, so that's not going to change. Now, the people who are against it, they say things like tradition, that having low turnout is not that big of an issue because those are the voters that are really in tune with village, politics. Sometimes they bring up that moving to November would make it a partisan election. Well, it's already a partisan election in Liverpool and always has been. The Republicans have always run on the Republican line. Democrats are now running on the Democratic line. So that's already, there. So that is, in short, the Liverpool Village election. So again, 2 trustee positions up, 2 Republicans on the ballot, no Democratic opposition. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention one other thing, and this kind of ties into that. One of the other reasons for moving to November, and one of the reasons that I'm an advocate for that, is then the finding of candidates falls under the regular schedule that other elections do, which means if you're finding candidates on a partisan line, you're walking petitions in March and April and turning them in. If you're doing an independent line, you're doing it in May. Here with the June election, you're actually doing the petitions in February. If you wanted to get petitions a little bit earlier, it's not as bad as March, but but the problem is that when a June election comes up, you might have people that are actually traveling. They're off, and they can't run because they've already got a family vacation or something like that. And we see that with village politics a little bit. So having the election aligned when most people are voting also aligns when most people are deciding to run for office. So you end up having more competition and more choice, which I think is important in any election. So that's that. So that's all I got for the Village of Liverpool election. Noon to 9 tomorrow, Liverpool Village Hall. Results will be on the Onondaga County Board of Elections website, as well as not on our website. I'm sorry, it won't be on our website. It will be on our socials, Facebook and Twitter. So if you're following Onondaga County Board of Elections, do that. Of course, I will share them on my socials as well. The reason they're not part of our website is, again, it's a special election, a special time, and it can't. We're running two elections at the same time. We can't do two sets of results at the same time through our normal results caster system. Or at least we haven't figured out how to do that without crossing those streams, so to speak. So that's what's going on there. Shortly after 9 p.m. we'll have results on our Facebook and Twitter feeds tomorrow night. I want to turn my podcast here to early voting. Early voting for the June primary is happening right now. We've just completed our third day of early voting. That means we're about 1/3 done. We've had 1,312 voters check in. And that is ahead of the first 3 days of, slightly behind the first 3 days of the August 2022 primary, which was the highest amount of early voters for a primary. But that doesn't which had 1,380 people over its first 3 days, and ended up having the most, over 4,000 voters vote in early in 2022, August of 2022, for the congressional primaries there. But that doesn't really tell the whole story, because there's a very interesting thing going on. At least I find it interesting. Democrats are actually kind of blowing the numbers off of their 2022 August primary. Again, both of those are apples to apples comparison, because in August of 2022, there were two candidates running for the congressional seat for the Democrats, and in today there are two candidates running for the congressional seat. There's an additional Democratic primary for Senate District 50, but we're seeing a nearly 20% gain in Democrats over the first 3 days of the 2024 primary compared to the 2022 primary. So Democrats are using early voting more and are coming out in a similar election. The same cannot be said for the Republicans. The Republicans have actually had only 700 voters, 70 voters check in for early voting over the first 3 days in Onondaga County. Now, they only have a Senate District 48 primary. So that's the Rachel May District, which includes the city of Syracuse, the west side of Onondaga County, and the southern tier. Now, there's about 35,000 eligible Republicans. They have about 82,000 countywide. In 2022, in August of 2022, they had a congressional primary for the Republicans. So they're right off the bat, 50,000 less voters are eligible to vote in this primary, and all of them come from the GOP field, because Senate District 50, which makes up the rest of Onondaga County, is not having a Republican primary. So that being said, because that you would expect less turnout, but it's ridiculously less turnout. I think something close to over 300 Republicans voted in the first 3 days of the 2022 August primary, and we're at 70, even accounting for about, it should be about half, of it. That should be a little bit around 150 or so. So it is a very low turnout for the Republicans right now, and that's why we haven't beat the numbers from 2022 August. It's not the Democrats are blowing up and actually participating in this primary, where the Republicans have yet to do so. And it's not like they've been doing so via absentee or vote by mail either. They haven't really returned a lot of absentees there either as compared to the Democrats. So I guess we're going to be seeing if they have an election day vote or if they vote for the next 6 days of early voting. So now, tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday, early voting goes to nighttime early voting. We are mandated to have 2 days where early voting lasts till 8 p.m., and so we're starting at noon each of the next 2 days to go to 8 p.m. And then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the final days of early voting, we go back to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have 6 sites: Armand, Magnorelli, and Beecham inside the city of Syracuse. And then up in the north, you have your Clay Town Hall. In the east, you have DeWitt Town Hall. In the south, you have Lafayette Fire Station. And in the west, you have Camillus Fire Station. So those are our 6 early voting sites. And you can still request a vote by mail ballot. You can go to our website, onvote.net. You can check your registration to see if you're enrolled in a party, see where your election day polling place is. And remember, election day is June 25th. That's a week from tomorrow. And if you decide that you don't want to go out for early voting, you can go vote on election day. Or you can request an absentee vote by mail ballot, or on our website, or come right into the Board of Elections. And it's one-stop shopping. You can get your absentee or early vote by mail and print it and vote it right in our office. However, if you're going to do that now, you may want to think about just going to early vote and getting it done that way. Although some people are picking up absentees for other people, that's allowed. And as long as we got written, instructions from the voter saying that you're allowed to pick up your absentee ballot. And of course, the voter has to sign it and fill it out. So people will be picking up absentees and early vote by mails for people who are unable to get to the polls, probably due to some kind of medical emergency or last minute travel plans. So that's happening right now. So that's what's going on. My content schedule, because I'm in the middle of early voting and working every day, got a little messed up this week. I did not drop a weekly wonk this weekend. Assembly District 127, the weekly wonk will come this next weekend. I will not have a Zoom with Zarni this week as well, partly because of the election, partly because I was unable to secure the guest I wanted. So next week, I will have a Zoom with Zarni with Rachel May, who Senator Rachel May will be checking in, and we'll be able to talk about her end of session and upcoming. But that won't come out till next Friday. So I'm a little light on content, but I will still do a Commissioner in a Car on next Monday, which will preview Election Day for the June 25th primary. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much. Please, if you're a Democrat anywhere in Onondaga County, go vote. You can go to early voting or vote by mail. If you're a Republican in Senate District 48, please go vote. Your Syracuse, western half of Onondaga County, southern half of Onondaga County, outside the city of Syracuse, you have a ballot to vote. And there are a smattering of conservative and Republican primaries for county committees as well. If you are in the Village of Liverpool, you have a general election tomorrow. Please go vote and vote on the proposition and your choice of whether to move the election from June to November. And also, there are village trustees, although they are unopposed. Although write-in campaigns do happen and could happen. So there's that. That's all I got from you today. Go to dustinzarny.com. You can subscribe and get an email notification every time I do an update. I've been doing a little bit more media over the last week or so because we're getting ready for the primary. I'm sure I'll be doing more of that. That's on there, but all my content, podcasts, and writings are on there as well. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye. Oh, one last thing. Go Celtics! Game 5 can be the NBA champion. We're hoping it's going to happen tonight. Hey, look, I'm dressed for the game. I go with my son. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time. So here we go. Celtics, Game 5. Hopefully they win and become this year's NBA championship. That's all I got. Bye-bye.